what exactly do we mean by multiple taxation? Can you give us your perspective on that?
Okay, thank you very much, Wale. And it's a very interesting topic because people often ask, what is multiple taxation? I don't pay my corporate income tax twice. And the reality is that multiple taxation occurs when on the same income stream, you pay taxes or levies more than once. And when we look around businesses in Nigeria, so long as we provide goods and services, especially if they traverse many locations, we often find that those businesses complain of multiple taxes and levies by different councils, different tax authorities, and different local governments. In fact, for that reason, you find out that in our national tax policy, multiple taxation was discussed, and it was described as a situation whereby you are levying taxes on the same person for the same liability by more than one or two government agencies. So multiple taxation is very key. It's very live. Many businesses, like I said, who traverse more than one location. So that means they have to move their goods or services across different locations, pretty much experience it. It's also very prevalent, especially when you go to the informal sector, whereby, people, artisans and the other informal people who provide services, or even farmers, in the agri sector, and you have to move goods across, different locations. Now, so that is it in terms of for businesses that actually move goods. You ask yourself in the arena of audit, how does multiple taxation occur? It also occurs because oftentimes when you have multiple audits on the same client for the same income for the same period, it often results in paying taxes more than once. And that is where the RMAFC conundrum actually comes in. For a lot of businesses that are being audited by RMAFC, FRS has equally audited the same periods and the same income. So the question is, when two or more agencies are auditing the same situation, what do you find? You find a situation whereby you have paid taxes before. Are you going to be giving full recognition for it? And even when you are giving full recognition for it, is it possible that by the advent of that audit, some of the issues that you've previously dealt with will be brought in, and if you are not very savvy or conversant with it, you'll be raised again and you end up being subjected to taxes on them. Now, the worst part of this is when those audits are being conducted simultaneously, as we are seeing in the current situation now. And it's also happened in the past. What happens when FRS is, say, for instance, auditing you for 2018 and 2019, and RMAFC is conducting a simultaneous audit for the same 2018 and 2019 at the same time? Who is going to give recognition for whose liability? We've seen situations in the past that has occurred when those audits are completed and FRS gives you its own liability. RMAFC also dishes out its own liability. If you pay FRS and you then tell RMAFC, oh, I've paid FRS, give me credit. RMAFC says, no, this is the work I've done. You must pay my full liability. But say you've paid to FRS, they say, no, we don't recognize it. And they might use some of the enforcement agencies like EFCC to actually enforce you to pay those liabilities. So when those things occur, you actually go into a situation whereby you are pretty much paying taxes twice on the same income. And that is one of the reasons why this session is very important. We need to discuss these issues and the challenges. Thank you.
Thank you, Nike, for that comprehensive response. Now, when you talk about audits, most taxpayers know about the Federal Inland Revenue Service. They know about the State's Board of Internal Revenue Service. Now, the question then is, does RMAFC have the power to conduct the audits, or what they use is verification that they're doing? What are your thoughts?
Again, very interesting. And, we are now going into some of the deep dive in terms of the scope of RMAFC's powers. Now, it's interesting. First of all, we have the RMAFC Act, which defines out what RMAFC is meant to be doing. And they have a whole lot of, responsibilities. And part of it is also helping us to determine the remuneration for political office holders like, the presidency, the vice president, the Senate, and all what have you. Also, one of its powers is to also help us with the revenue allocation formula, to review it from time to time, in the sharing of revenues between the three tiers of government to ensure fairness and relevance to, the current situation. Now, there's also another power whereby it monitors the accruals and disbursement from the Federation account. And, I think that is where this whole issue of investigation or audit, as we call it, may come into being. Now, that power, and I must mention that in addition to RMAFC Act, these responsibilities of RMAFC is actually enshrined in the 1999 Constitution. It is specifically mentioned, and that is why RMAFC feels very empowered, that they are in the Constitution and they have all the rights and powers to do what they're doing. So we need to closely examine that statement in terms of monitor the accruals and disbursement from the Federation accounts. And one of the key questions you ask is, let's start with the accruals. Who actually accrues funds into the accounts? They are the government revenue agencies like FRS, the Nigerian Customs Service, who actually remit. So if you are to monitor, who should you be monitoring? I think it goes, it's pretty obvious that it should be these agencies for you to confirm that indeed all monies they have collected have indeed been remitted into the revenues account. However, in recent times, I think in the last 6 years, we've seen an instance whereby RAMFAC has really come out to taxpayers and said beyond just maybe evaluating and monitoring collections by those agencies, they actually want to be sure that those who are supposed to pay those agencies their monies have actually paid the right thing, which is duplicating the work that those agencies themselves have been doing. So the question is that legal? From my reading of the law, obviously they've gone beyond the intention and the explicit wordings of the Constitution. But they believe that statement is like an omnibus clause, which doesn't define the start and finish of their powers. So they believe they really can and audit anybody that they wish to. So that really is the challenge, Wale.